Well, greetings, my 40-minute decompression stop of YouTube followers. Here is my follow-up on the new Mido Ocean Star GMT rainbow dial that was, at least initially, only available from Hodinkee. I don't know if anyone else is carrying it yet. And if you wanted to see my unboxing on this, I posted that about a week ago and decided to defer the review until I had had a chance to have it on my wrist for a week or so. So, what are my thoughts about this watch after a week on the wrist? And please pardon all of the air conditioner noises in the background. I am in the basement. Anyway, first thoughts on this watch. It is very striking, very beautiful, and very comfortable to wear on the mesh bracelet. It is also hard to read. And I don't just mean the myriad of things that I will personally never need, and I don't think any diver in 2023 in their right mind would ever use this as their actual decompression dial when they have dive computers available. I don't just mean that. I mean, just reading the time on this watch is challenging at times. And sometimes I even need my reading glasses to read the dial on this watch just to see the time. And that's kind of disappointing. One of the strange things about this watch, I'm going to start with the negatives, because so far the reviews I've seen have just been so gushing and so positive about this watch that I want to give people out there who are considering buying this watch, especially if it means, waiting on a wait list or buying one expensively secondhand on eBay. A few things that I think could have really used some improvement and missed the mark a little bit. And obviously the first of them is the readability of the hands. Now, I'm zoomed way in on this, but from a distance and, not with the sharpness of a camera, when you glance down at your wrist, it's pretty hard to tell what time it is unless the lighting is either really good and you have your reading glasses, if you are old enough to need reading glasses, or if it's at pitch black at night and the loom is very well charged, then it's actually easier to read the time than it is just under normal day-to-day conditions, I'm finding. And that's kind of disappointing, because I have a lot of watches with, equally small or smaller dials, and they're a lot easier to read. There just isn't a lot of contrast with these hands. They're mirror polished, which kind of gives them that black polished effect. So, particularly when I have them in this black box here, the reflections off the lid of that box make the hands appear kind of black. And in a lot of conditions, it's really hard to see. The hour hand is really short on this watch. It's stubby and short, and that makes it kind of hard to find at times. And the minute hand is plenty long, but it's very, very skinny. And the loom section on it is tiny, and it's only right there at the tip. So it kind of makes finding the minute hand a bit hard. And and the GMT hand, which we'll get to in a minute, is loomed. But of course, the GMT ring isn't loomed, which I think is a really big missed opportunity there, considering that the color they went for on the GMT ring is that sort of pale yellow-green loom color. In fact, from looking at pictures of this watch online and then from looking at it in person when I took it out of the box, I was sure that that ring was loomed. It is not. So that's a missed opportunity there, because it's the same color as the loomed indices. The loomed indices glow okay. The ones at the quarter hours, 6, 12, 3, and 9, those ones glow pretty well. The other ones are so skinny and don't have very much loom in them that they really have to get very, very well charged to glow, and they don't glow as long as the other markers do anyway. So those aren't particularly great. So those are, missed opportunities, number one. And the other problem with legibility on this dial is the curve of the crystal. Now, looking at it straight on like this, you can make out all of the minute markings on the chapter ring. But if you come off axis from the watch at all, they just disappear, and they get distorted. And under a lot of lighting conditions, you can't even see where the hand is pointing at them. So that is another problem. So it's not all problems with this watch, but there is one more that I want to talk about, which is the GMT hand, which is that it varies between hitting, its registration to the dial isn't great. Sometimes it's right on the money, sometimes it's 20 minutes slow. So that's a problem. But I don't think there's anything that can be done about that, and I don't think it's really a huge issue. But if you were looking for pinpoint accuracy out of that GMT hand, you're not getting it. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of other things. All right, so let's transition to a wrist shot of the watch, and slowly get into the things I like about it versus the things I don't like about it, mainly the readability. One thing I wanted to point out about the outer chapter ring is that you can see that, from 12 o'clock all the way to almost 4 o'clock, you just can't read what's going on there. And the problem gets even worse with a camera, which is a single lens. It's bad, but with 2 eyes, and you have one eye, that is 3 inches further to the left than the right eye, right? Or however far apart your eyes are, you get 2 very different images of the chapter ring, and it makes it really difficult to discern down to the minute what time it is sometimes, depending on where your light angle is. So the last thing I want to talk about is about this bracelet, which I actually really like this bracelet, except for a couple of things. And the first thing is the fold over there. I don't know if you can hear this. I'm going to try and get the mic as close as I can. Yeah. So that fold over is loose and it rattles. That could be alleviated by simply making those divots there a little bit deeper, or wider rather, so that they engage the complete diameter of the hole that they're snapping into. That would keep it from rattling around. There's several things you could do after the fact to make that not rattle around. So let's get into the strap a little more. Now, the strap is your standard, period style strap, fold over, but the mesh is a very good quality, and I actually really like the mesh. I like the way it feels, and I like the way it breathes. It's a very, very comfortable strap to wear. Doing the clasp isn't as easy as it could be. However, it's not the worst. You kind of gotta lay the watch on your lap, and then fold over the top, fold over the bottom side, then fold over the top, and it takes a little technique to get it going. There is no micro adjust on this clasp. However, one thing that is very cool about this watch that a lot of the reviews miss is that the lugs on each side of this case are double drilled. That is to say, there are 2 sets of holes, and you can micro adjust because the straps that come with this watch are quick release straps. You can essentially get micro adjust function out of the case, and in practice I have discovered that by moving the strap around to different sets of holes, I can compensate for wrist swelling. It's a little less convenient than changing out like a micro adjust on an Omega strap or something like that, but it's not it's not horribly inconvenient, and it does give you a way to loosen the fit or tighten the fit of your watch without tools in the field. So, and it's a very innovative, and I don't know, innovative, I've never seen it before, but it's a very cool way of getting micro adjustment in a watch that works with any strap. So I can micro adjust this bracelet, even though it doesn't have one, by changing which lug holes I used, or I can micro adjust the rubber strap. Moving on to the rubber strap. I don't like it. I mean, I kind of sort of like its appearance. Its vintage appearance is cool, but I don't like the way it feels on the skin. I don't like the way the watch wears with the rubber strap. There's some amount of breaking it in to be done, obviously, but it's a rubber strap. It's, you know, it's pretty soft, and it's not like it's biased the way a piece of leather can be. Why don't I like the leather strap? I mean, I have a fairly hairy wrist, and when you move your wrist around, the rubber strap tends to kind of grab it. And even though this rubber strap is well ventilated, and it is quite well ventilated for a rubber strap, it still just doesn't breathe anywhere near as well as the mesh does. The mesh is really, really good. It's cool that Mido, it's actually Mido because it's from the Spanish yo mido, which means I measure. Fun little trivia fact there. It's cool that they included this, but honestly, I would have preferred them to not include this and spend the money that it costs them to make this buckle and all that and the strap. I would have preferred if they had spent that money on the mesh bracelet and given us a better clasp with a micro adjust built into the clasp. This is a great bracelet. I just can't see ever wearing this watch not on this bracelet. I certainly can't see wearing it on this rubber strap. So, all right. That's all the negative stuff out of the way. What do I like about the watch? Well, it's a beautiful watch, isn't it? I mean, it's a complete mess of a dial, but it's just really, really fun to look at, and it shines in all the right places. I'm not a person who likes to show off my watch in public, but I've gotten more comments on this watch in the past week than I have on just about anything I've had on my wrist that isn't, you know, comically undersized or in other ways noteworthy. So I will probably keep it. But it's problematic, and reading it is hard. If I want a watch to actually read the time on in all conditions, this is probably not the one to go to. Good choice for the beach, good choice for something that can actually get wet. And I mean, by get wet, you can actually go swimming with this watch. It is a true 200-meter water resistance. It has a screw-down crown. It's very well put together, and I would have no problem at all getting it wet. And with regards to getting it wet, the strap breathes so nicely that, unlike the rubber strap, when a little bit of water gets trapped between the strap and your skin, this feels all sticky and weird. This just feels nice. The water wicks away. This 19, I think it's about 19 rows. Count it yourself if you feel so inclined. I think it's a 19-row strap. It wicks away the water very, very nicely. It feels good on the skin, wet or dry. I really like the bracelet. I just don't like the fact that the clasp rattles, and I don't like the fact that there's no micro adjust built into it. Thank God they double drilled the lugs to give you some micro adjustment in that manner. Let's see. Timing wise, the movement has been very, very good. It's gaining about a second a day, pretty much consistently over the last week, and that's whether I'm wearing it or not. I put it on the time grapher and got some interesting results. It was pretty much running uniformly as far as time goes, as far as rate goes in any position, more or less +1 second a day, maybe -1 in some positions. But the interesting thing I noticed is that there was almost no beat error when dial up and 0.5 millisecond of beat error in dial down position. But that it didn't affect the rate much. And in practice, the rate on this watch has been perfect. It's been as good as my master chronometer certified Omega Speedmaster. However, you know, I've only had this a week, so the Omega I've had 4 years, and it's maintained that type of rate over 4 years. It remains to be seen how good the free sprung balance system on this holds up over time. What else? The world bezel, the world time bezel works well. The pip at the top glows very nicely. But again, what's the point of that if you don't have a loomed 24-hour chapter ring? The loomed 24-hour hand just points off to somewhere, which you can kind of sort of guess where it's at, I suppose, right? If you're going to loom the 24-hour hand, you might want to loom the chapter ring too. I don't know. What's the point otherwise, right? And you should make the hands bigger. If I had my druthers, the hands would absolutely be bigger. Yes, it's going to collide more with the decompression dial and make the decompression dial harder to read, but nobody's buying this to actually read the decompression dial. They're buying it to look at the colors and the pattern of it. And so, yeah. In conclusion, a really cool, fun watch. I will probably keep it in my collection because it is so much fun. But it's flawed. And if you're looking for a watch that, you know, is easy to read the time on, you might want to pick a different one. But other than that, you know, it's great. The case is very, very well executed. The flawless polish, you know, it's just great in so many ways, but just misses the mark in so many others. Anyway, that is my long-winded 1 week on the wrist review of the Mido Ocean Star GMT Rainbow Dial original color path from Hodinkee. Cheers.